Welcome back to JK Out of the Closet. We got Nick back, and today we're talking about the fourth most pivotal moment in his life, which is hilarious to Anthony Lee, apparently. So you and Tiff obviously met as children, basically.
We met as children at the ripe age of 15 years old.
Did that make you feel kind of p***y?
Nah, because she's older than me, actually. Okay. She's older than me by a month.
Oh, cradle robber.
Yeah, she's the one. So yeah, short story is like, we met in high school. We were dating ever since. In 2019, we got engaged. I got on one knee and I popped the question. Which was
at 20?
I was 20, no, 20.
I feel like you've never told us what made you want to do that so soon.
Well, also, I'd like to. Also, when did you know she was the one?
I guess that's not that soon.
How did you know she was the one?
You know, like, the whole, like, honestly, I didn't know.
For real?
Still didn't know. Like, the whole concept of, like, still not sure.
Yeah.
The whole concept of, like, she's the one to me is, like, I kind of don't really.
You don't buy it?
It's a Jet Li thing. But I think the if anything about Nick, what I've learned is he doesn't do anything with conviction.
Yeah.
He is a fucking.
I'll say this: if anything I did with conviction in my life, it is Marion Tiff. It's like as our relationship.
That's cool. There you go.
Because
Well, you didn't do it prior to.
From the jump, like the one thing I took seriously in my life
Was Tiff.
was my relationship with Tiff. Because I saw how my parents grew up. Not grew up. I saw my parents growing up. I saw how my parents were married.
Looper, baby.
Yeah, and seeing how they engaged with each other, and seeing what kind of distress it caused both sides, right? And I just remember being like, I do not want this in my life. Like, and that was the one thing I felt confident on.
Is that why you didn't want to be a sound guy?
I knew I didn't have a passion for it. I could give two shits about sound editing. Yeah. Unfortunately, sorry, Dad, if you're watching. He knows.
I wanted to be a sound guy.
He put me in karate. It's his fucking fault at a young age, you know. But he said even when I was a little kid, I was just doing kung fu all the time.
Oh, okay.
I just was like, it was just drawn.
Kicking the air and shit.
So anyway, going back to Tiff, like that was the one thing I put in. I worked really hard on, and I felt like my mindset going in was very clear of making sure our relationship was good, even from the beginning. Like whatever I could do to be a good partner, communicating, not letting fights get to a point where we never talked about anything and we just kind of push it off and have resentment. So anytime we had a big issue, I knew that we had to talk about it, because if we didn't, it was going to come back up. Just observing my family and observing my parents.
Oh, okay.
How are you able to have the tools? Because I feel like in most people like take a couple relationships to learn this, where in the beginning, when you guys have fights and you guys are talking it out, it's usually one person trying to prove their point. And it's not until maybe a couple relationships in where it's like, oh shit, like if you really want to work things out, it's really trying to hear each other out, and not one person beating the other person, but like, where are you coming from? Like, how are you guys able to work that out within the first relationship?
So obviously, like, that is a master skill of like being able to understand where somebody's coming from, and sometimes like what they're saying is not like what the actual issue is, right? So it's like you have to look out for different signs, right? Obviously the context is really important. But growing up, I would always see my family just fight all the time. Like my sisters, my mom, you know, my grandma and all this shit. Like everybody was just yelling all the time and just screaming. And I was always just kind of like in the back like, what the fuck is going on, right? My dad would just throw shit, slam shit, you know, people like, it would just be chaos. No real conversations could be had. And I just realized, like, this can't be it. Like, okay, this is what I've been seeing my whole life. And then growing up, I just kind of always wanted to be a natural, like, peacemaker. Like, hey, just chill. Like, let's not, we don't got to yell. We don't got to scream. And it wasn't until I started getting older and, like, maybe, like, mid-20s where I would see my parents and my sisters and my dad, like, argue with each other, like, pretty crazy. And I had the confidence to be like, hey, like, chill, like, everyone stop. Because that was, like, a big thing for me. Because before, I would just sit in the back and be like, can everyone just get along? You know? That fucking little stupid kid.
Well, you were the youngest.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I hate when everyone's fighting. And then I became kind of like, you know, I started fighting a little bit. Like, one time, my dad and my uncle were trying to fucking fight in the middle of the front lawn.
No way.
My dad was trying to fucking sock out my uncle.
Uncle as in his brother?
Yeah, his brother. His youngest brother.
Was he like the sound on Indiana Jones is whack? Can you call those footsteps?
That didn't even sound like a boulder.
They were talking about some family shit, like some deep-rooted, like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
and they were like squaring off, and like for once in my life, I stepped in the middle, like, hey, fucking chill, like, and then they actually like stopped, and I was able to defuse the situation, right? But before, nobody would be there to do anything. It would just
And they'll just start throwing down.
They probably would have, or something.
They're looking at your cauliflower. They're like, I will stop.
It wasn't even that. It was just like, hey, like, we gotta, whatever this is. And they knew right away. As soon as, like, because sometimes you need someone to snap you out of that situation. But anyways, so seeing that throughout my entire life made me understand that I didn't want that for our own relationship. I didn't want us to be able to have this weird relationship where we're fighting all the time and we just never move forward from whatever issues that we had.
Yeah.
So, it was more just like it was just actions. Every time we had a fight, I was like, no, we got to sit down and talk. We got to talk. Even though as much as she didn't want to, but I was like stern on that. And then over the years, you do that more. You get more feedback from each other. You understand that, like, oh, when my partner has a problem with me, instead of trying to fix everything right away, you just sit down, you shut the fuck up, you listen, and even if it hurts your feelings and your ego a little bit and your pride, you do have to, at the end of the day, you just want to come to a deal and how do we move forward together? Like, how do we get on the same page and make sure that we're living a life that we both want? Because if I'm living a life that I want and you don't have a life that you want and you don't have a relationship that you imagine in your head or whatever, and in 5 years from now, we're gonna get a divorce.
Resentment, yeah.
Resentment builds over time, and that's what I saw in my parents. Like, I saw resentment build up, and it was just stuff that they never disclosed to each other, right? And it was when I had conversations with my dad about like his issues with my mom. Like one day he just blew up because I went to him and I was like, well, how could you even say that to your mom? Blah blah blah. Like giving him shit about something, and then he gave me his whole side, and I was like, oh fuck, like this is actually, I understand where you're coming from. I didn't think.
She was a bitch.
Yeah.
Mom, why gotta be such a bitch?
Because in my eyes, my mom was always right, and my dad was always the problem, right? Because my mom would always complain, talk shit about my dad all the time, be like, this guy fucking sucks, blah blah blah.
But you would hear more about your mom's opinion than your dad's.
So I thought that was the right side, right? And then
By the way, and I this happened to me too. It's messed up of our moms to do that shit because it's like they're actually like putting us into a hole.
For sure.
They know what they're doing with that too.
But some of the other things though too is like, my mom just had. This is my opinion. Take this with a grain of salt. But from what I saw of my mom, she just didn't really have any coping methods. Like she didn't have anything for herself. Her life was just the kids.
Yep.
Doing everything in the house and then just being burnt out all the time.
Same here.
And it was like, who's doing anything for her, right? And my dad was burnt out from working all the time, right? And he came home, he just wanted to like fucking kick back, and there was just like a disconnect. Like there wasn't intentionality behind like going on like date nights. Like they didn't do things with each other. And when you just go through your life just doing the things that needs to get done for your family and work and all that, you realize that like you could really easily get disconnected from your partner. And the past 2 years, I kind of had that with Tiff. Like, we're like, oh shit, like, we're just going fast. I was just working. Where I'm like, oh yeah, we're not spending intentional time and we're not putting the work into our relationship that we need to kind of have legs, right? Because you gotta put all the time and effort that you did to get the girl, and you kind of have to do that for your whole life, right? Like, to keep that relationship. You can't, well, as soon as you get complacent, you know, that's when the chaos starts to happen. And, you know, I saw a little, we've had like issues like that where we're not spending time and we have arguments and I feel like I'm not being seen, but then all it really takes is some intentional sitting down and spending time and, you know, a little cuddles, a little kisses.
So was that a recent thing, or is it like, is this something you learned early on and you're like, oh fuck, this is why I should propose? Like, is it pre-proposal or post-proposal?
That was like after we got married. Because like,
He's talking the last 2 years.
yeah, like when you get married, like I didn't think it was gonna be a big change, and it fucking was.
Like having that official title. Or?
When we found out, like, okay, so we picked our wedding date and we got married in 2020 in COVID, like July. When we picked our date and we had to do the wedding the next day, I was so fucking nervous. I've never been that nervous in my life, not for any fight. I was so nervous to get married the next day. It was just crazy. It just felt like, I have no idea.
Because the show's called Out the Closet.
Because, I don't know, it's also like, you're jumping into something with somebody that you obviously know really well. Like, I knew Tiff very well. Like, we were two peas in a pot. But then there's that fear, right, of like, okay, sometimes for people when they get married, it's a death sentence for that exact reason that I said, where people get complacent. Oh, we're married now. We're legally tied together. There's nothing you could do to, there's a whole barrier to get divorced and separate. There's like a whole thing. So as soon as we got married, and merging our families together was a big deal too. Seeing that dynamic of my family so different than their family, having to come together, that was like things that we had to work through that I didn't see coming. I didn't think that would be an issue at all. And then getting really tested with, like when, I think what year was it? 2022? Tiff got diagnosed with like a rare condition. She doesn't really want me to disclose like the name of it, so I'm not going to. But she got diagnosed with a rare condition, and it was just like, it just kind of shook our fucking world, right? And it really made it made it really clear of like, she's my family, like she's my next of kin, like she's my right, like this, it changes completely. She's not just my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, and wife is, I don't know how people feel about the title of wife, but in my head it's like, wife is a title, but like family is like a different level in that way, right? Like when she took my last name, I was like, oh shit, this is like,
She's your responsibility now.
yeah, like I have to look over her, and she has to look over me, and all my decisions up to that point were all just like whatever I wanted. It was just, I only had to think about myself. And then now getting married and going through this whole process is like, oh shit, like my livelihood is her livelihood. I need to make sure I can support her no matter what, and I have to change how I do everything now. Like, I have to be a fucking adult. Like, I can't be a little kid anymore. I can't have all these excuses about things that I can't get done or whatever. And I have to kind of man up a little bit. Like, that's how I felt when we got married. And then seeing Tiff just go through her medical, like, this journey of her getting diagnosed and all the shit that she has to go through, I was like, it just made everything so fucking real. It made all these other problems that I had in my head just doesn't fucking matter. And our only objective at this point is like making sure that she's okay and getting the treatment that she needs. And it's weird how all the other things in my life that I really fucking cared about just kind of fell by the wayside. And having our family just come together for this one sole purpose was something I didn't expect, and I didn't think it was gonna have that big of an impact on how I was gonna have to change as a person. Like, I don't know, just this past year has just been so crazy. Watching Tiff get diagnosed with something that not her fault, came out of nowhere. They can't figure out why she has this, right? And a lot of the first stages when Tiff got this was like, why me? Like, why? And that was like just really hard because there's nothing I could do. I'm just watching her suffer, and I was just kind of on the outside, and all I had to do was try to support, and it's just frustrating because it's like you wish you could, like, wish that was me. Like, fuck, I'd rather deal with that than you.
Damn.
So, and learning how to move forward despite that, because you do have all these other responsibilities that you have to keep up, and you're spinning so many multiple plates, and sometimes it's overwhelming where you're like, fuck, like I don't know how people do this. But and another thing that kind of put it in perspective was our neighbor, this lady that we lived with for like 4 or 5 years, older couple, really sweet. She finally retired. She was 65 years old. She got diagnosed with brain tumors.
At 65?
65. She just retired. This is like a month after her retirement.
This is your neighbor?
This is my neighbor. She had plans on, traveling with her husband. They have all these plans, and they're the best neighbors I could ever ask for. She, and then I slowly see her. I watch her deteriorate. Right, I see the stress and all the pain that her husband had to deal with, and you see that, and like this dude's like crying on my shoulders in their fucking driveway because he's like, I don't know what the fuck to do.
God damn,
bro. And then it's like, while we're dealing with our shit, which is very like it's awful, right? But it's a good perspective because it's like, oh, it could always be worse, and it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, that's true.
This shit could hit you in the face, and and then you just go like, oh fuck, like this is all I really have.
Yeah.
It's just the people around me, my family, my community, and those are the people that keep you strong and keep you focused to get through it. And my neighbor, she passed, right? She passed in like 3 months, and you're just like, fuck, dude, this is crazy.
That's quick.
Heartbreaking, because you see, you're seeing it from the beginning. She was completely normal.
Damn.
And by the time she left, she was a shell of herself. Like, she wasn't the same person, right? Because she was deteriorating. And it just made us very thankful for kind of what we have, despite having this really crazy medical condition. That's, you know, it's very sobering, I guess. Like, it's a slap in the face. And you just go,
It's like, at least you still have her, because it's like,
yeah.
when you're in it, you're probably not even thinking that that's a possibility. But then your neighbor is going through that same thing at the same time, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
damn.
And at that point, it's like you're faced with, okay, you could feel all these different emotions of getting this really terrible news, and then watching Tiff just go like, because I think for the specific condition that she has, half of the people just give up because it's a degenerative disease. It only gets worse, right?
When you say give up, like they just let the disease
let it happen.
Oh,
Go to treatment or nothing.
They're going to treatment, or until it's too late, until they have to like amputate or something, like something crazy. But watching Tiff be so proactive with her own treatment, with her own doctor's appointments, like, and you know, anyone that's dealt with the medical industry, it's like, you really do have to fight for every single fucking inch that they give you. Anytime they pay for something, you gotta fight for everything. And to watch her, despite all this, and like trying to make sense of everything that's been happening, but still being able to push through and saying, fuck that, no, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And to really like go all in on herself and to really take care of all things that she needed to do was like, wow, man, I am so fucking lucky to have this person in my life. You know? Because like, that's gonna be the future mother of my kids.
yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's rough.
It's cool to see. But I'm very thankful to have my lady, you know?
Yeah.
You shut the fuck up, dude. I'm not gonna fucking cry, you're gonna cry.
No, that's awesome, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing,
man.
dude.
No, we got 2 more minutes, dude.
Yeah, we're good.
No,
Do you ever think though, because like this is like such a crazy thing for her to go through, and like I know it's like man, it's like I wish I could take it all on or whatever. But do you ever just think, why couldn't this have happened to Anthony?
Oh my god.
Obviously, this is like an insane thing. And so my mom went through cancer. We talked about that. But one of the things I asked my dad one time that was kind of wild is, and then I want to ask you, is like, how are you doing, man? Because during shit like this, it's always like, obviously Tiff is the one going through it.
Yeah,
That's
for
fucking
sure.
Sucks. But like your neighbor had to hug you in the street because he didn't want his wife to see that he's going through it.
Yeah. No, man, it's definitely hard, but you know, it's like we're lucky that we're seeing progress because Tiff was so proactive, because she's so like, whether it's neurotic or she's anxious or whatever, it doesn't matter, but she's still just like, I just follow her lead, man. We just deal with what's right in front of us, and I feel like it's the easiest way to deal with it.
So she's getting better and better though?
Yeah, like thankfully, like you know, we don't know what's gonna happen in the next couple months. Like we're going through all this treatment. She's busting her fucking ass. That's what really matters. Is that if she wasn't busting her ass to get herself better or just to pull herself out of the situation, then you know, then it would be way harder. But in my eyes, all I could really do is just keep telling her, like, especially on the hard days where it feels like she's not making any progress, I just keep reiterating, like, hey, we are making progress. And it's hard for her to see because she's so close to it, right? Yeah. And she's the one feeling it and internalizing it. But I tell her all the time, like, it's getting better. It's getting better. Like, there's hope. There's hope. And, like, that's what I kind of have to do because it's like, whether you think, I saw her do it early. Like, she was thinking very negatively. Like, this is over. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna be able to do anything in my life. Right?
Oh, damn.
You know, like shit like that, where I go.
Crazy.
And we didn't know the landscape of what this disease was, what the treatment looks like. At the time, early in LA, or when we were in LA, we've been having to go to Cleveland because there's really good specialists out there. But in LA, we're getting contradictory advice from doctors everywhere we go, specialists. People are like, hey, doctor, you gotta come here and take a look at this shit. This is crazy. This is the most rare condition I've ever seen. Like, somebody said was like, oh, you're a zebra amongst horses. You ever heard that phrase?
Man.
That phrase of like
No bedside fucking.
when you hear hooves outside,
Yeah.
is it horses or zebras, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like we're seeing stuff like this, and we're just like,
Sheesh.
what the fuck is happening? Like, what is this, right? So we don't know what her life is going to be like, and everyone's telling you like, you got to live with it. No, it's over, and there was no like potential for cure at the time. And then this specialist is like, yo, I got like my record is like 99%. Like, I'm really good at this shit, and he's like he's badass, bro.
Oh, in that specific thing.
In that specific disease, and he's like the leading edge of this industry, and he's our surgeon, right? Like, and Tiff made that shit fucking happen. She sought this dude out. She had to jump through so many goddamn hoops to get this fucking guy, and she got this guy to treat her. You know, so it's like, man, this chick is badass, bro. That's really cool to see.
Are the medical bills pretty crazy, or is it all covered under insurance? Or?
She's finding a way to make that work. She's finding a way to do the but because she works in the industry, she knows that really well, so she knows how to like navigate that. And then, you know, we've also had tons of friends and family like from our community like, hey dude, like I have family in the insurance industry, blah, I can help you out. So it's like, dude, you just feel so much like warmth and you just feel very grateful for the people around you. And you're like, man, like this is what it's really about. Like whatever things that whatever weird pressures I put on myself to be this person or whatever, that shit just went out the window, bro. I was like, nope, this is what really matters, you know? So yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Thanks for sharing, man.
Thanks for stepping out of the closet.
Sorry.
That's how
It's really-
we end.
really heavy, huh?
Yeah, heavy, good shit.
We never had this Nick until now. It only took 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
You guys are trying to do this whole fucking new series. I was like, fuck, damn.
We call him the man of a million chances.
Honestly, I didn't want to do this. Bart made us do this.
Yeah, Bart made us do that.
This is the new JK.
It's just playing part in the middle. It's turning into an AA meeting and shit.
Yeah, honestly.
Damn, man.
Tiff's gonna be pissed that I talked about
yeah.
this. Sorry, babe. Love you.